Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. We are truly excited that you all have decided to join us for this special program for a retrospective look back and a progressive look forward with Interim CEO Lee May. I am Katarina Taylor, the Interim President for the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce, and on behalf of our Board of Directors, staff, and Chamber members, we welcome you. If you are an elected or an appointed official, if I could please have you stand and be recognized. Thank you for your service and support of DeKalb County. If you are a member of the DeKalb Chamber Board of Directors, thank you all for being here. To both the staff of the DeKalb Chamber and staff of DeKalb County, thank you so graciously for your guidance, your leadership on putting this event together. This event would not be possible without our sponsors. So, to our presenting sponsor, McKenna Long and Aldridge, thank you all so very much. The DeKalb Chamber Foundation, and to our silver sponsors, APD Solutions and Gas South. You will see some note cards and some pens on your tables, and that's going to be for the questions and answers part of our program. So what we'd love for you to do is during lunch, if you could write down any questions that you may have for our CEO, and we'll collect those during the lunch. Now I'd like to bring up Pastor Troy Bush of Rehoboth Baptist Church. I've had the pleasure of speaking to Pastor Bush's congregation, and it is now my pleasure to have him come and provide the invocation.
Thank you. It truly is my honor to be here, and what a great privilege we have to live in a community where God has granted us the opportunity to govern ourselves through a democratic process. Let's pray and pray His blessings upon this gathering. Lord, we do thank you for the incredible beauty of this day. Thank you, Lord, for the cool air and the blessings of a beautiful sky. Lord, we really do gather today to celebrate what you have given us in this community and the incredible stewardship you have given the leaders of this community, both in the marketplace, both in government, in education, in the churches and other places of worship. And Lord, today we celebrate what you have been doing in our community. Thank you for our leaders. We ask your blessings upon this meal and the fellowship around these tables. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Good afternoon. My name is Vaughn Irons. I am the Chief Executive Officer of APD Solutions, and I also serve as the Chairman of DeKalb County Development Authority. For those of you who are residents or employees of DeKalb County, welcome home. And for those of you who are visiting for this occasion, welcome to our home. I have the responsibility of introducing two very wonderful people that you may already know. You may already know them well, and if you don't, we hope that you get to know them better through this particular occasion. First, I'd like to introduce to you someone that we see in our homes every evening, 5, 6, and 11 p.m. on WSB. She's been with us since 1998 here in Atlanta, and I'm sure people in Memphis and in Arkansas miss you very much, but you're our own. Jovita Moore holds a master's degree from Columbia University. She served in undergraduate school in Vermont. I have to talk to you about Vermont sometime. I've never been. She's a busy mother of 3. She is a member of the Atlanta Association of Black Journalists and several other organizations. She serves her community well. She's received several Emmy Awards, but one of the things that I like to make sure that you know and understand is she's one of DeKalb County's own. She's a resident of DeKalb County. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jovita Moore.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, I have the unique pleasure of sometimes when you introduce someone, you have to introduce someone that you've just recently met or that you don't know well. I have the pleasure of introducing someone that I not only get to call our leader today, but I respect very much. I know him, I'd like to say I know him well, and I'd like to call him a friend. Our interim CEO, Lee May. For those of you that don't know Lee's background and his resume, I'm going to tell you a couple of things that you may be aware or that you could Google, but I'm going to give it a little bit of a different flair. Lee, as you look at him, he's a young man. And one of the things that you may or may not know is Lee is the youngest person to ever serve in the highest elected office here in DeKalb County. That's a very important distinction because you don't just arrive at the CEO's office. You have to work hard for it. And that hard work is evident every day. And a year ago, he came into this role, and all I can say to you is what a difference a year makes. Lee is the proud father of three. He's the son of a minister. He's an author. He's been to divinity school. But the characteristics, his background, his biography isn't what makes up Lee. Lee is a person that believes in a process of consensus. Lee is interested in hearing the thoughts and ideas of all citizens and all stakeholders, and he believes in the entirety of DeKalb County, not just portions of it, not just certain people. He's a convener, but he doesn't require that you agree with him. And the best thing that I can say about Lee is he's a man that does everything that he says he's going to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you our interim CEO, Lee May.
Okay. So I guess now it's our turn. I'm glad. I didn't know that you went to divinity school. That's interesting.
Emory University.
Okay, very good. You probably need a little divine guidance for this job. And it has been over a year, so time flies when you're having fun, huh?
Yes, yes.
I'm surprised that it's been over a year. So Governor Deal, of course, appointed you to this post of interim CEO for DeKalb County. DeKalb is, as he said, a big place. It's about the size of Vermont when you think about all the residents here. So it's a big job. So take us back just over a year ago when you got that call to step in, and the governor said, "I need you to do this." And it can go on for a while.
Yeah, that was an interesting moment, not just for me, but for DeKalb as a whole, because, we were in a position that, as a county, that we've never been in before. The uncertainty, the anxiety about the future of the leadership in DeKalb was really at stake, and people were wondering. I don't know the governor. I hadn't met him prior to that point. I know him now, actually. But and so when the call came, it was a unique experience because most people, when they enter into a role, an executive role, or any elected office, they have a transition period, 2 to 5 months before they actually take the office. So I received a call at 4 o'clock from the governor's office, told that the announcement would be made at 5 o'clock, and I was sworn in at 6 o'clock. So I had a 2-hour transition period. Go figure.
Right.
And then after my heart stopped pounding and almost, came through my chest, talked to my wife, called my wife. She prayed for me right then and there. My beautiful wife, she's here right here, Robin May, the love of my life. She's been with me for 20 years. We've been married for 12. And after she prayed, then we, began thinking, okay, what do we do next? And that was really the uncertain part. Being a commissioner for 7 years up to that point, I knew what it was like being a commissioner, one of 7, but being an executive in government, I'd run my own business, but, and that's different, running your own business because you're the person. Being responsible for 50 employees, you get that, but operating a government, 700,000 residents, approximately 6,500 people that work for the county, $1 billion budget. Then you have your partners on the Board of Commissioners that you have to work with, whether you like each other or not. And we like each other most times or not, more times than not, regardless of what you hear on the news. And so it was at that point that I figured out, okay, we need to begin to have an open dialogue. So I really began with our employees. Again, 6,500 employees. I began to have small meetings, large meetings, individual meetings. I literally met with a couple of thousand of our employees, just really to listen to them, listen to their frustrations, their anxieties, their concerns, and then for them to hear my heart. Then the next thing I did is we began to do a circulation of town hall meetings all across the county, in cities and unincorporated areas, north, south, east, west. And literally met with thousands and thousands of county residents. And that was really the start of kind of really moving into the point of governing this county as we move forward.
Talk about kind of the elephant in the room, the reason why you are here. The criminal trial pending, I think a trial date is set for September, against the now suspended CEO, Burl Ellis. Over the past year, there have been high-profile stories that we've all done in the media regarding the grand jury report. Of course, the P-card controversy has come up a couple of times. Ethics complaints, I think each and every one of you, the board and you as
me
interim, you included.
Yeah,
everybody has an ethics complaint or two
yeah,
against
them.
them.
I think you have one.
Right. I may after today. And so what have you, as interim CEO, been able to do to kind of restore the public's trust? Because as a resident, I'm also watching the story not just as the news anchor, but also watching it as a resident of DeKalb. And, a lot of people are shaking their heads about what's going on, what's the breakdown, and what's the problem here? Yeah.
Well, it takes years to build trust. But it can take one day to destroy that trust. And that's really the thing that keeps me up, most nights is figuring out how we can rebuild the confidence in our county government. We hear the stories, we see the ethics complaints, we're dealing with all of this, and it's food for the fodder. This is what the media, this is what they report on. And so, we've had to really take some really tangible steps to move us in the right direction. It's easy. Again, my wife is a mental health therapist. She's a counselor. She counsels couples all the time. And she has a lot of times deal with people who have had a breakdown in trust for whatever reason, and they're trying to restore that trust. And I look at, our job, my job, the board's job, as working each and every day to rebuild that trust. The easy knee-jerk reaction is to call it quits, to leave. In marriage, that's what people do when it gets tough. And going around the county, I hear that a lot. Just yesterday, I heard a constituent say he's been here for 10 years and he's had it up to here. He's ready to leave DeKalb County. And I would just recommend to people that, number one, hang in there with us. We are going through a rough patch in our marriage, but DeKalb County will continue. We've been here since 1822. We're going to be here long after all of us are gone. Work with us to move our county in the right direction. And I wanted to open up with that because, I can't resolve the issues of public confidence and trust myself. The board can't, but it's really a collaborative effort. So we've done a couple of tangible things, more than a couple. We took that special grand jury report that was brought forward and made some really strong assertions related to our purchasing department and certain personnel. We actually brought in an external outside counsel to review everything that was in the special grand jury report and then subsequent reports and motions that have been filed to look at what has been accused, what allegations have been put out there, what people are named that work for DeKalb County in there, and seeing kind of what their roles have been in that so that we can know for ourselves. We didn't want to just hear from the jury or from the media with that. It also made some assertions about our local small business enterprise ordinance and making some fixes with that. So we brought in an outside consultant to review all of our purchasing policies and our standard practices they gave us about 72 recommendations on things we need to fix. And recently I brought in a person to head up our purchasing department, time-limited period of time. Mr. Scott Callan, he's here with us here today. And so he's helping us to reorganize our purchasing department. Then, of course, the stories of the P cards and that story that just won't ever die. And I hope you can help us kill those stories, Jovita.
Well, you've made some changes.
We've made some changes to that, to our P card policies. Number one, our P card policies hadn't been revisited in 12 years. And so we updated, we standardized them, we made it plain for everyone to see. We began some annual audits. We hadn't had annual audits ever, on the P card policy, on the P card activity. We also mandated training for that. And then we made the announcement that P cards are a privilege. They're not a right. And so it's an administrative function that falls under the purview of the CEO. So I literally have the power to turn off a P card if there's been some actions that we deem that has been unacceptable. But we've gone further. We have we gave our Board of Ethics, who has their work cut out for them now, we've given them a full complement of members on that board. They didn't have a quorum for some years on our ethics board. They had a paltry budget. They had a budget of about $12,000 or so. We increased that to about $118,000 and to give them the resources that they need. And all those things were in our budget that the Board of Commissioners passed. So they've been partners in moving those things regarding ethics. We also updated our ethics policies as well. We hadn't, again, those ethics policies hadn't really been revisited. We standardized some things, but also we wrote some new rules regarding meals, gifts, and travel, that apply to me and everyone under my administration. And we banned some things as well in there. And we're doing all these things just to make people feel confident in the work that we're doing. And the big thing that we just announced was the proposal to hire a chief integrity officer for the Board of Ethics, an investigator and an administrative assistant that will be full-time employees for the Board of Ethics, to really give them the resources they need to be able to deal with the claims that have been brought forward to them in a real balanced and ethical manner.
And those changes you made to the ethics board was also the root of your ethics complaint. I mean, you got hit with an ethics complaint after you made those changes.
Yeah, my ethics complaint had to deal with whether I could even propose something like I did. It's a proposal. These employees will report directly to the ethics board. As a matter of fact, they will be the body that will hire all of those employees. All we're doing is putting in our budget, creating positions for them to do that, and moving it forward. And ironically, the ethics board, the ones that I've spoken to, are very much in support of it.
Do you think that gives it its own sort of independent governance? So now it has the people in place so it can function as a board?
Absolutely.
To look into complaints against elected officials?
It makes it a sustainable, and it's not just elected officials, it's appointed and everyday employees as well, but it makes it sustainable so that when all of us are gone, you still have practices and a system in place that can adequately address any ethics complaints that move forward. And this integrity officer will have the ability to look at incidences that are out there that may not come forward in a formal complaint, and give the Board of Ethics their own understanding and their own thoughts about the ethical nature of what has transpired. So it's more of a proactive and a reactive function, and it will also encompass a robust amount of training to county employees about ethics and what is reasonable and what is acceptable in terms of behavior.
I think it's interesting that you say that the ethics policy hadn't been reviewed in 12 years. Why do you think that is? Especially considering if you think about the past 12 years, we've had a recession. There certainly have been budget crunches that the county has faced over the years. And if there is this spending that is happening in commissioners' offices. And so where is that accountability, and why had that not been looked at in 12 years?
Well, and again, this is across the board. So this is not, I know it's easy just to say, well, we got these ethics complaints, but we're looking at creating a standard practice for any kind of, complaint that may come forward. I really think it was just kind of the honor system. I think the underlying thought was people are going to do the right thing. Now, again, we're a $1 billion organization with thousands and thousands of employees. You're going to have people that steal, lie, cheat, and don't do the right thing. And so even though it will be the rare occasion, if everyone that is accused is rightfully accused, that's only a small fraction of all the employees and elected officials that we have in our county. So we just have to have a system in place that can provide oversight, for basically ethical activities.
And they're still in the works. You have an anti-corruption unit?
We have been in the works of developing some form of a anti-corruption unit in partnership with the district attorney. The district attorney for years has had a public integrity unit. That is their form of anti-corruption unit. And we have been talking for some time within the police department about recreating a anti-corruption unit. There was once one, then it went away for whatever reasons. It's no longer with us. And so we've had this conversation about what is best practices. Is it best served within the district attorney's office or within the police department? We felt like that it would be best to make it a joint task force. Okay. And so we're developing that. We're not ready to roll it completely out, but that's been the conversation to just from a criminal aspect. Remember, just because there's an ethics complaint doesn't mean that it's criminal activity. Right. And so we want to make sure that there's an apparatus in place that can address any criminal activity that may be allegations out there regarding that.
So, of course, public safety, public works, jobs in DeKalb County, those are also big issues that the CEO's office has to deal with on a regular basis. So start with public safety, because I'm sure that's probably the highest priority on everyone's list. What do you think you've been able to accomplish over this past year as it pertains to police and fire services?
Well, Jovita, this is what really gets me excited. I'm glad we can get past this ethics stuff so we can talk about the real work of government, because this is part of what we're dealing with in DeKalb County. People's frustrations about our county government is really what they're reading and watching on TV. And the good things that we do really gets muted in the conversation. And to be fair, and I told you this earlier, Jovita, the media will report the good things that we're doing. It'll be a one-day story. But then all the negative things just continue on and on and on. And we have to do a better job of telling our story. So with all the day-to-day operations, you asked me earlier, what did I really do after I got the call from the governor? It's really just jump right into the day-to-day operations of our county government. And public safety is something that we as elected officials, we highlight each and every day. We say, yes, this is our number one priority. But it's really your number one priority only when you put the money where your mouth is, And so I'm happy to report today that, by year's end, we would have had 4 different police academies that would have graduated through our police department. Now, that is historic. I don't know that we've ever had 4 police academies come through. I don't know if we have our the chief of police, Conroy, here. This is the first time we've had many of them. He's a 26-year veteran of our police department. In our fire department, I appointed Chief Darnell Fulham, 26-year veteran in Fulton County. I may be having the numbers wrong, but they've been in their positions for decades. We would have had, by year's end, 100 new firefighters. And I've made a multi-year commitment to expanding those 2 forces. Our goal is to hire 480 new police officers over a 3-year period and 300 new firefighters over that same period. That's getting people on the street to keep our communities safe each and every day. And we've had to also address the retention issues in both of those departments. Mm-hmm. In the past few years, we've had historic number of officers leaving our department. Primarily because they hadn't received any kind of cost of living adjustment or pay raise in over 6 years. And because other benefits and things that they had seen had gone away. And in both the police and fire department, the leadership had been changing year after year after year. I think in the police department, I counted somewhat like 6 or 7 new police chiefs in my tenure here, on the Board of Commissioners. And so we've done some things to deal with retention. In December of 2013, we gave them a one-time 3% bonus for all sworn personnel. This year, they just received their 3% cost of living adjustment. So they're getting that pay raise that they had. In the police department, we have implemented a take-home car program. So we just rolled out the first 100 of those. We'll be rolling out 100 new police cars for them to take home, officers on the street, to take home over the 3-year program. We instituted a tuition reimbursement program. You know, to be the police chief or the fire chief, you have to have a bachelor's degree. So if you entered our department at 19 years of age, you probably didn't have a bachelor's. And for the pay that they receive, you know, going to Emory University is probably out of the question unless you get a scholarship. So this tuition reimbursement will allow them to advance themselves academically as they move forward. So we've been trying to do some real tangible things to keep them home. You know, we don't want them to leave our department. We want these 20-year veterans to stay with our department because when they stay, our departments are the better served for it.
And Public Works, anything there that has changed over the past year? I know there was some talk about trash pickup for one and changing that and recycling programs, just for instance.
Well, Public Works is one of those unique things. People don't pay attention to it until something goes wrong. You know, you don't think about our water sewer system until there's a sewage spill in your neighborhood. I've had one in my house. The sewage came up through our house, raw sewage. You don't think about the water system until there's a water main break, you know, and you don't have access to it. And so we are in the midst of doing a number of things with Public Works. Morris Williams is here, is our Chief Deputy COO for Infrastructure, is over all of our Public Works. And we have a $1.3 billion capital improvement program in our watershed department. Mm-hmm. And that is critical. We are behind. We found ourselves behind once I entered this role in rolling out all of those projects. It's a lot of money that has to be spent and a lot of work that has to occur. So number one goal is getting us up to speed and making sure that we're rolling out these projects. We have over a 50-year system, you know, in place. And in terms of our roads and drainage, you know, one of the biggest calls that we get in our county, really from the commissioner's standpoint, is two. Really is your water bill, mm-hmm. and it's the potholes and on your roads and the need for repaving. So we've had to put a lot of money in. We put $1 million in the budget this year just to fill potholes. You know, after the ice storm of 2013 or 2014, it really had a big impact on our roads, and so you began to see many potholes developing. So immediately after that, we filled well over 1,000 potholes, you know, with that money and making sure that our roads are repaved. We're still dealing with the big transportation issue that the whole region is dealing with. But until then, we are working to just manage our current road system. We inspected over 2,000 miles of roads this year just to get a good understanding of the state of those roads. And so we're monitoring what we're doing. We're getting more efficient. In Watershed, we brought in an outside consultant to look at how we can better operate our watershed department. Literally, we spend hundreds of millions of dollars on the day-to-day operations, and then we have over $1 billion that we have to do in terms of capital improvements. So this outside firm is helping us to be more efficient so that we can do things better and save money where Public Works is concerned.
How would you rate DeKalb County's responsiveness during those snowstorms in January and February that hit us?
A+. A+. And that is A+. It was one of those times that actually the media did as well, too, because you reported the facts of what was going on in DeKalb County. We didn't have the long delays in commute time that other areas were experiencing. And it's really a testament to our men and women in both Public Works and Public Safety. We had both of those departments. Where's Peggy Allen? I know you're here somewhere. There's Peggy. Wave your hand, Peggy. She is our Director of Roads and Drainage. Phenomenal job that she's done with us. Chief Conroy was with us there. And so we had police and public safety. We had Public Works. We had our Deputy COO for Public Safety, Cedric Alexander, who I promoted to that position prior to that, and our Deputy COO for Infrastructure, Morris Williams, who I highlighted earlier. We sat everyone in a room together, both of those areas, before the snowstorm, with our new director, who I'm excited to announce, Sue Leffler. She's our new director of DeKalb County Emergency Management Agency. She was in that role interim. And it was because of that experience of how she led us through that let me know she is a person for the job. She's the first woman in that position, and she's a DeKalb County resident, and she's done a phenomenal job. I don't know, is Sue here? Chief Leffler? No, she's not here. But it's really through the forward planning. What we had to do first is we had to clear the roads first. Before our public safety officials can come in and begin to do the rescue operations, we partnered with our school system, our great leader, School Superintendent Michael Thurman, who is here sitting up front. Go ahead, stand up. Mike is doing a phenomenal job. But we didn't have the issues with the school system and county government because we were on the phone literally at all hours of night saying, hey, we got some kids over at Dunwoody. Dunwoody's in an incorporated city, but we had kids that needed to be rescued there and that we went to go get. And so we were literally directing the work that needed to be done, and I think we fared well. So A+ for all of our county workers. Y'all made me look good. Thank you. I love you. And Mike Thurman, you did an awesome job.
Well, if the superintendent, he just kind of snuck in.
Didn't he?
I've been meaning to email you since January, but we can talk about that later.
Come on, let's switch place, Mike.
I will say, for the record, since we're here, and I think I said it on TV that day, the decision, though, to dismiss schools at about 1 o'clock that afternoon, I did not work for me.
No.
Did not work for me. I mean, I think parents were where they were that day. I think the call could have been made that morning not to have school on that very first day. That's what I think.
As a parent speaking, isn't it?
As a parent.
So let's talk about that.
Because we all knew the snow was coming. Everyone said the snow, it was coming. It was coming.
Al
whether
Roker
you wanted to believe
seared it in our head, didn't he?
Glenn Burns seared it in your head. It was coming. We all knew it was coming.
It was, yes.
So what I did is I'm up that morning and I'm waiting and I'm watching and I'm waiting and I'm waiting for that tweet. I'm waiting for that email from DeKalb. I'm waiting for something to say, okay, schools are going to be closed today, right? No, schools are open.
Okay.
I was like, okay, well, let's see. Okay, all right. Well, we live right around the corner. That's a blessing. We live right around the corner from our neighborhood school. So I take both my kids, go to school that day, the ones in DeKalb schools. The third one was in a parochial school. So I get the kids to school, and right about 12:30, that snow started coming down.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was like, okay, so now what are they going to do? Right about 1 o'clock, I get an email. Well, now, by that time, I am on my way to work because everybody's like, here it comes, get to work, hurry up, get to work. So I have to get to work. By the grace of God. Now, the good thing is, the good response was the school buses were out. They were on it. My son got home the fastest he's ever, my 8-year-old at the time. That boy was home in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
By that time, I am stuck on Peachtree Road. By the grace of God, one of my neighbors was outside waiting on the school bus.
Wow.
Because she got the email that came in and she left her house. She's a stay-at-home mom, so I love them. She came out her house and she waited for that school bus and she took my son home and stayed with him for 5 hours because that's how long it took before anybody could get to him, right? Because everybody else was stuck in the weather. So I just questioned why that decision was made to send the kids to school anyway. And as a parent, I thought, you know what, I should have just kept my kids at home. I should have just made the decision myself to keep them at home.
Yeah.
So that's note to self. The next time.
Well, note to self. Let me say this, Michael. I'll get this one for you. I got this for you, Mike, because let me tell you what. Let me tell you what Michael's response.
I bullied Quinn Hudson for your email because I'm going to email Michael Thurman today. And I'm going to tell him, why were my children in school?
So that serves as your email now, right?
That's
so
my email.
You make sure you reply
publicly. You all know my feelings about that day.
So let's say that it was bad.
And I think I talked about you on the news.
And it was bad across the region. It was bad across the region. from that standpoint, and it was a learning lesson from us in DeKalb because it let us know that, yes, early on we need to be communicating the school and DeKalb County government in order to make that decision. If you notice after that, the second ice storm,
oh yeah, it was windy and we stayed
exactly.
home.
But also,
it was windy and there was no school. I was like, oh, I'm really about to email him now. Because the wind is blowing,
so Jovita, also,
and the children can't go to school because the wind is blowing.
So also,
okay, let's here.
No, you can't no, Jovita.
Burke is like, get out of here.
Jovita, you can't give us a 10-minute, rant and not let me respond now. Come on now. Listen, I got you, Michael. So,
I don't get to talk on the radio like Neil Boyce or anything. This is my opportunity.
So, one of the reasons. So one of the you wouldn't want to talk behind your back. So,
right. I figured since you were here, I'd say it to your face.
So one of the reasons why your kids got home so fast is because the roads were clear.
Right. The one child.
And it took you 5 hours.
And the buses were ready.
Yes,
the buses were ready. Yes. And yes, I was traveling in the other direction to the other city.
People would love to have had a 5-hour commute to their home from there. So what we learned from that standpoint is immediately after that is that, number one, communication between the school board and DeKalb County government must take place earlier, because of that simple fact. The fact that they made the call and people were out, yes, your kids got home quicker. We messed up. Nobody ever said we didn't. You didn't see me on the news, defending that action, But what we did do, we learned, and y'all are crazy. I'm not talking about anybody here or not here.
And it was all about lessons learned.
It's a testament.
Y'all
to our
gonna listen to
public
Glenn
works.
Burns next time.
We did, didn't we? We listened to him, but it's a testament to our public works and to our public safety officials really jumping in, and also in terms of planning. Because planning is critical in this, in terms of understanding what Sue Leffler, our chief our director over our DeKalb Emergency Management Agency, sat us down. We looked at the Doppler. We didn't just depend on the weather, the meteorologist.
Right.
We sat down with the National Weather Service ourselves. We listened. We saw the patterns. We knew the time that things were going to hit, so that we can be, more responsive in moving that forward. So we won't have
and the
that
National
problem.
Weather Service called Glenn. I'm just saying.
Okay.
So next time.
Next question, please.
Next January, we're going to talk. Okay, anyway. All right. So you mentioned, back, let's focus. Burke wants me to focus. So you talk about all the government services that you just mentioned, and even $1 million for watershed and having to deal with sewage issues that the county has faced. So when you have all of that and you're dealing with the tight economy, because it's still a tight economy, so of course that puts a pinch on all of your budgets. How is DeKalb County able to keep up with the demand for all of these services?
Well, everything rises and falls on our budget, and we are in a really sound position fiscally here in DeKalb County. The Board of Commissioners just approved our mid-year adjusted budget. We approve the budget in 2 times during the year, beginning of the year and mid-year once the tax digest is certified, so we'll know what our true revenue picture is going to look like. And then we can adjust based upon spending levels and all of that. The board just approved a budget that overall funds, all tax funds, enterprise funds, et cetera, approved a budget with about $91 million in cash reserves. And that is an awesome position to be in, and that's tax funds, it's enterprise funds, it's all of that. That says that from a financial standpoint, number one, we're constraining our spending. Number two, we're doing a good job of forecasting our revenues. And number three, that we're just operating efficiently. Now, we got a long way to go, let's be clear, in terms of efficiency in our county. That's the day-to-day stuff that we're doing to make sure that we have a county that's sustainable and competitive as well. Our bond rating this past year, was just improved. And we have to go to the market again coming up here soon this year. And I'm going to put out there that I feel confident that we will either remain the same or have another uptick in terms of our bond rating as well, because of the work that we've been doing with our budget. And so we have sound financial practices here. We got Gwen Patterson-Brown here, our CFO, our finance director, has been with the county for 30 plus years. And I made her interim finance director because of her work that she's been leading us moving forward. And so that is helping us sustain that. But also, what we have not done in DeKalb County is really looked at our budget forward thinking. We have really approved our budget in 1-year cycles, and we've just kind of left it there. What we're beginning to do, we're building the foundation now to look at our budgets within 3 to 5 year windows. That's what sound financial practices is about. And that would allow us to invest in the areas that we need to invest in, whether it's in people, technology, or training. And that also allows us to contract when we need to. If we'd have been doing that during the Great Recession or leading up to the Great Recession, we could have been better positioned in terms of our financial status in DeKalb.
So at the same time, protecting the budget, and does that help looking 3 to 5 years out when you have places like Dunwoody and Brookhaven, and there wants to be a Briarcliff, and there wants to be a Tucker, and there wants to be a Lakeside, and now Stonecrest is talking about becoming its own thing. So how do you continue to protect the budget and know the impact when these pockets are trying to pull away?
Well, number one, we have to be wise in our spending. So we have to make sure that we're constraining our spending right now. We have to continue to build up our cash reserves across all funds. And the $91 million isn't just there. We have to continue to increase it beyond that. But then we can't just look at the threats out there of new cities being incorporated, or even current cities expanding through annexation. And we can't just look at that and say, well, we can't move forward because of this. But we also have to take that reality into consideration. Will there likely be a new city incorporated or a city expanded through annexation this coming General Assembly? Probably so. My opinion is we ought not have any more, but the political reality under the Gold Dome says that there likely will be one. And so in the face of that, what we have done is created what we've called the DeKalb County Operations Task Force, OTF. And that is really bringing in people from all throughout the county, whether you're in cities, whether you're on the north or south side of town, unincorporated DeKalb, Democrats, Republicans, black, white, men, women, et cetera, to sit down at the table and discuss the future of DeKalb County. That really hadn't been done in a long, long time. And so that task force is looking at a few things. It's looking at the municipalization conversation and how that impacts DeKalb County. Because the biggest thing that hurts us in DeKalb County is state law. State law is very gray in how it deals with how areas incorporate, and it's also very punitive to counties. So the state law that allows areas to incorporate in DeKalb is a state law that covers any county. So we're looking at the financial impacts on not just the incorporated areas, but the remainder of unincorporated areas as well. But we're also looking at our governance structure. If you listen in the media and talk in the community, there's been talk periodically about changing our form of government. And if you've listened to me talk, and y'all have reported on it, I'm a proponent of change in our form of government. We're the only form of government that has a CEO form of government, an executive and legislative branch. But that's a move that the General Assembly has to take on. Then the third thing that the task force will take on is service delivery. Because if areas incorporate, in the manner that some people want it to be, the scope of DeKalb County government will change. And so we have to figure out what the scope of our county government will look like. The state mandates county governments to do a whole litany of things. City governments aren't mandated to do anything, not one thing. Now, they're authorized to do certain things, and in state law, they are mandated to do 3 services, but they get to pick and choose what services. We don't have that choice. If it's mandated, we have to do that. So looking at the scope of what DeKalb County looks like. So what we brought in some very smart people, some very powerful people, some thought-provoking people. You have heard from one and you'll hear from another today. Von Irons, who gave that great introduction to me. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. He is a co-chair of that task force. And you'll hear at the end of the meeting from John Shelton, the president of DeKalb Medical Hospital. They are 2 co-chairs for that task force. Now, I'm not telling them what their opinions ought to be because they are strong thinkers for themselves. But what we've done is put on the table all of these issues for them to address. We brought in Georgia State University to help us go through many of these issues, tell us what state law says, tell us the impact kind of studies and things, and they will go through them, get a baseline of understanding, then they'll give recommendations back. I'll take those recommendations, and hopefully we can pull them into some legislative initiatives that we can take to the Gold Dome in a very thoughtful way to move our county forward in the right direction.
We're going to take questions from the audience right now for you to answer. And while we're doing that, talk about very quickly what you're doing to get more jobs to DeKalb. I think just this week the GM plant has finally sold, or it's about to close on the deal. So
it's either close or it's done. But
Okay.
I'm really excited about the GM plan and the developer that is looking at that and those opportunities. One of our outside of public safety, I looked at. Priority number 2 is creating jobs in DeKalb County, making us a more competitive county for work. And you've heard me, many of you have heard me say this, there's a reason why a Caterpillar will go to one community and a Porsche will go to another community and a Baxter will go to another community. It's not that they're just cool places to be. DeKalb County, we win on cool. All day, every day. We win on cool. We're a cool place to be. But those communities were strategic. They were proactive in going after the kind of businesses and developments that they want to see. DeKalb County, at least for decades, has not had an economic development strategic plan. We haven't had a plan, and y'all know me, I got a ministerial background, so I give this quote all the time. There's 2 scriptures in the Bible that I love to quote. One that says, a people without a vision will perish. Many of y'all have heard that. But then there's another scripture in the book of Habakkuk that says to write the vision and make it plain. Well, we have this vision of being a super competitive county, to being the most competitive county in the state. That's our vision. But we have to write it down. So we brought in an international consultant to help us write our plan. And I'm happy to say that it is just about complete, and we'll be rolling it out next month for everyone to see what our vision and what our plan is to make our hyper-competitive. We've also entered into a strategic agreement with our Development Authority. Bon Irons, again, is the chair of the Development Authority. I saw Judy Turner here as well. I don't know if any other members of the Development Authority is here. If you're not, if you are, wave your hand. Okay, but we've entered into the strategic agreement with them to create a new economic development agency for our county. It will be rebranded, renamed, rescoped. We will be hiring an executive, which we have just launched that executive search, to come in and be the president, executive for that organization. We will staff up, and they will be the implementers of that strategic plan that we have just completed. And then we're making us a more business-friendly county. So if you're in development, you're in business, and you've had to go and navigate through our permitting process, it's been somewhat of a nightmare, to say the least, and I'm being kind of, generous with that statement. But we are transforming our permitting process right now. Again, bringing in an outside consultant, because the way that I've looked at this is, if we could have fixed a lot of these things ourselves, we would have done it by now. And so we brought in the professionals to help us to navigate through these things, and so we're fixing the technology. It's going to be a $3 million fix of the technology software piece in permitting. We're retraining, retooling, restaffing. Eventually, we're going to relocate the permitting function to make us a business-friendly place, so that when people want to open up their business, they can do it in a timely manner.
One of the questions from the audience is, with the trust concerns that we talked about at the beginning of the hour, will you support term limits for commissioners?
That's funny, and someone has brought that up. One of our commissioners has brought that up. I've actually been a proponent of term limits, and that would have to be a fix that the legislature brings up. I think 3 terms for a commissioner is long enough. That's about 12 years. I would give you your first term, you're just getting your wet feet. I think about me after 4 years, and as much as I thought I knew, today I know what I knew 4 years ago, pales in comparison to what I know. But I do think there's wisdom in having term limits. Of course, there's term limits to the executive office, but I think there's wisdom in having term limits as well, a bit longer than just the 2 terms for CEO, though.
You just talked about the economic development plan. This question is about that. So what major initiative can we look forward to coming in 2014-2015 out of that economic development plan?
Well, you'll see a target, so the community will know what our targets will be, so we can be proactive. What industries are we focusing on? We've highlighted about 6 targeted industries that we're going after, that we want to make sure we're either strong in those places already, and we want to provide extra resources for those, or they are aspirational goals in terms of this is what we want to be and this is how we're going to get there. You can look forward to there being a new executive prayerfully being in place by the beginning of 2015. Our executive search committee, we've made that our goal so that we can have the best, most transformational leader to lead this new economic development effort and agency here in DeKalb County. We want people to look at that person, whoever he or she is, and say, you know what, DeKalb County has done good in selecting this leader, and we're confident that economic development is moving in the right direction in our county.
This question talks about returning the confidence and integrity to DeKalb government. I believe that you have answered that throughout this hour with some of the things
and I'll
that we
just
talked
say
about.
this, Zach Williams, our COO, our executive assistant for DeKalb County, has this saying, and I steal it from him every time, but at least I say I steal it, okay? So it's really not stealing if I'm telling you. He says if you show up every day, work hard, and tell the truth, you'll be successful. And really I've adopted that for my motto in this role, period. Whether I'm interim CEO or just or in the role as commissioner. If we show up every day, work hard, tell the truth, we'll be successful, and you'll see the fruits of that.
Of course, we have this audience here today, but this is one question. How will this information be shared with the rest of DeKalb County at large?
Well, that's a good question. In your programs, was that a setup question? Or I don't know. But in your programs, there is a list of community meetings that we're going to have throughout the county. We're trying to hit every sector of DeKalb County geographically. And we're going to have these kind of sit-downs with them. They'll look probably a little different in each community depending on where we're going. Of course, if we're in an incorporated city, some of the services that I just mentioned aren't necessarily relevant to them, but we'll talk about the good work that we're doing. And in a manner similar to this, I don't think Jovita's following me all around the county, but unless we give her an honorarium or something. But we'll sit down and have the conversation, and then we'll give a lot more time for question and answers all throughout the county. So it's in your packets. I think the first one is August the 7th. Am I right? August the 7th. And we'll take them over the next few weeks all throughout the county.
And if there are no other questions from the audience, I think we've actually caught up. We're back on time. So for those of you going to work, it is just about 1:30, so you can get to work on time. And let's thank Lee May, Interim CEO, for giving us his time this afternoon.
Thank you, Jovita. And let me also say, let me give a heartfelt thank you to each and every county employee that's here. And if they're not here, tell them I said thank you. I love the work that you do. We have some great people here working in DeKalb County that do some phenomenal work. I highlight the fact that this isn't my administration. I didn't hire most of these people. I didn't, and I haven't fired most of them either, But they've operated professionally. They've shown up each and every day and lent their expertise and effort, and they've been committed to me. So I want to thank you all publicly. If you're a county worker, thank you so much for the work that you do and for your commitment to DeKalb County. So without further ado, Mr. Shelton.
I'm John Shelton, and I'm chairman of the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce. My part-time job, I'm CEO of DeKalb Medical Health System.
That's right.
But we want to thank you, Lee, and your team for the great work that you've done over the last 12 months. We look forward to that great work continuing forward into the future. Y'all have really made a positive difference. Jovita, thank you so much for moderating the event, calling Michael Thurman to the mat. Nothing like the wrath of a mother. But again, I do want to thank our presenting sponsors, McKenna Long and Aldridge and the DeKalb Chamber Foundation, and also our silver sponsors, APD Solutions and Gas South. We hope you enjoyed the program. The DeKalb Chamber's next event is the Apex Small Business Awards, to be held August 20th at the Thalia in Carlos Hellenic Center. This year we've added new categories to include a Business Advocacy Award, Youth Initiative Award, Community Workforce Award, There will be procurement opportunities for several vendors in attendance, and we encourage you to nominate your businesses and register for this program. It has been a great program historically, and we hope everyone will join us for that. But with that, we conclude. Lee?
Yeah, one last thing, you all. I'm sorry. We have some tremendous elected officials here, and they've been acknowledged before, but you can't acknowledge them enough for the work that they do. And I want to first thank my colleagues on the Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Sharon Barnes-Sutton is here. Wave your hand, Sharon. Commissioner Jeff Rader here, Commissioner District 2. Thank you all. I don't know if any other commissioners came in, but we have our partners collectively on the school board that are here. Won't you have all of you all school board members stand if you're here? We have Thad Mayfield, Michael Irwin, Dr. Joyce Morley as well, and again our fearless leader, and I got your back, Mike, Michael Thurman, who is leading our district, our school system in the right direction, and I'm so excited for having my children in DeKalb County Public Schools. So sorry to interrupt, but I had to. And then we have our municipal leaders as well. Saw some from the city of Brookhaven here as well, city council, and also the city manager. Any other city officials here as well? Decatur. I saw the Decatur table and Lithonia, Stone Mountain mayors, and thank you all for being here, and thank you all for your leadership as well. All right, anyone else that I'm missing? I'm sorry, there we go. Oh, Sheriff, where's the Sheriff? Okay, our fearless leader, Sheriff Jeff Mann. Sheriff Jeff Mann. And any other elected officials who I can't see. I see people pointing fingers, but I don't see them. Oh, Senator Ron Ramsey. I couldn't see you. That's what it was. Senator Ron Ramsey. My leader. And Senator Gail Davenport. I've been looking at Gail Davenport all morning, too. Senator Gail Davenport. Thank you, Senators, for being here. Thank you for your leadership. And Tom Taylor was here, representative from Dunwoody as well. So God bless you all. Thank you again for coming out.
Good. Thank you.